There was...
All right, well, take us through then what you think is your most interesting undercover story.
Well, it's the one that ended my career.
Oh dear.
Essentially, yeah. I and a guy from the customs, good undercover operator, as I thought back in the day, we were designated to negotiate with a bunch of very well-connected criminals. And when I say
from the UK,
when I say when I say well-connected, let's just say we were going to pay them hundreds of thousands of pounds in cash. They were willing to accept arms instead of cash as payment. Okay, so they are properly connected to terrorism, right? Properly connected.
Are these London people?
No. So we have lots of negotiations with them, me and the guy from the customs, and eventually it gets to the point whereby it's the day of when this operation is going to come to fruition. They are going to deliver what was then, and this will show you how the industry grows and morphs, then they were going to deliver to me the biggest landside seizure of heroin ever in the UK, right? Now, if there's current cops, working in law enforcement and drugs jobs these days, they will laugh when they hear the quantity of drugs that was then the largest landside seizure. So not those that are seized at ports, right? Because obviously their importations, they would be bigger, but actually seized within the mainland was 15 kilos of heroin. This was a job kind of like a very, very big job back in the day. And I can hear cops laughing as I just mentioned 15 kilos, because of course it's all dwarfed now. So that is delivered by a bloke to me in a hotel room at Gatwick Airport. I spend hours that afternoon with him in this hotel room, weighing and testing every parcel. They come in half-kilo bags, so I've got 30 bags to weigh and test. And when I say test, I take a Stanley knife and make a little cut in the bag, take a little bit of gear out, stick it on some foil, and then burn it. Right now, very unsophisticated, but I knew my gear so well. I knew how it smelt. I knew how it burnt. Because if it leaves a lot of scarring on the foil, there's a lot of sugars in there and a lot of cutting agents. If it burns, it smells right, it burns right, and there's next to diddly squat left on the foil, you've got Cremo gear, right? But I've got to check, because I'm looking like the pro and I'm playing the pro. I check all 30 half-kilo parcels, right? Took me hours.
The guy you're with, what's
hours.
He look like?
He's sitting there, he's a little fella. He's a bit jumpy and he's all, he kind of sort of altered his moods during the afternoon, very chirpy, because he knows he's in for a very big earner out of this, a very big earner. He's chirpy, then he's getting a bit fractious, and then, so on a couple of occasions I'd send him out of the room, go and get a drink or, that kind of stuff.
Who do you suspect owns the drugs at this point? Is it like the Turkish mafia or something?
We know the team behind it, bearing in mind I've just got my undercover role, the investigating team behind it, okay, have established all the links they need, as to where it's come from.
Going back to Afghanistan
and
or whatever.
All that kind of stuff. But that's their bag, not mine. See, I don't need to know that when I'm working undercover. Because if I know all of that stuff, I might trip myself up when I'm in conversations with those people. Other undercover cops wanted to know the ins and outs of a duck's rear end, but I didn't. That was like, you do your job and I'll do my job. I'm playing the gangster. I'll go and be the gangster and we'll sort this parcel out. So there I am. 30 of these literally took hours. And at the end of doing it, and I've taped up, the little holes that I've made on all of them, bagged them all back up again, all done and done. We've tucked it away. I've got a banging headache, right? I mean, I really have got an headache because, 30 times I've burnt heroin, and some of it has undoubtedly, gone up my hooter in my head. I'm not high in any way. I've just got a headache. I've kind of, it's pretty tense. It's been a tense day, very early start. Now we get, and I kind of know what's coming next. So me and him, we're all done and dusted. Now it's time. So we put the phone calls in, yeah, so that the money can be exchanged at the other end. Yeah.
Where's the other end?
Oh, there was London, basically. I think my colleague had got a security deposit box with hundreds of thousands of pounds in it. Clearly, because I mean,
How do you get authority to have hundreds of thousands of pounds? Is that easy?
yeah, well, it got easier because we did it more frequently. We were, if I say so, me and my colleagues were, comparatively speaking, astonishingly successful, right? But so you've got all the bosses thinking we're winning the war on drugs, right? But basically, what they haven't got is a handle on the scale of the problem, right? We're only seizing lots of drugs because there's lots of drugs out there.
It's a tidal wave.
And it's the same now. You know, you see seizures of 1,500 kilos of cocaine and bosses laying it out on a desk and having it all photographed and aren't we brilliant and all of that. Well, don't you realise while you've been stood showing this off to the media, another 1,500 kilos has just landed or sailed in or been distributed, you know, and so the nonsense carries on. But
so you guys get on the phone.
So yeah,
and say switch the money.
Yeah, no, well, we had coded phrases to use and all that sort of stuff and blah 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 blah. So me and him are going to go down to the hotel bar and have a celebratory drink. That's what he thinks, right? I knew that was never going to happen.
Are all your people in there already?
Oh, we've got people. We've got people dressed up in hotel livery as chambermaids, you know, room service, all that kind of stuff. The lot. I mean, this was a first division crew we're operating against here. You know, we had no idea who was going to turn up. So, you know, all the firearms branch are out and they're all hidden here, there, and everywhere, and have been for hours and hours and hours, because you know this was a proper firm we were up against. So me and him come out, and it's all like, you know, hand round each other's shoulders. We're going to go down to the bar, have a drink, because this is going to be the start of a really lucrative and fruitful relationship that we've got. Whippity dippity doodah. Press the button for the lift, and the next thing, bang, he and I are slammed to the ground by armed police, of course, right? Hands behind the back, cuffed up and dragged off. Him in one direction, in one lift, me in another, right? And I've got to tell you, while I'm at it here, every time I used to do a briefing with the armed police, I would come into the briefing towards the end of it, so they would get sight of me and know what I was looked like and what I was wearing and all that sort of stuff. And I would say to them, please, right? I know I don't look like it because I've got a ponytail halfway down my back, right? And I'm dressed like Don Johnson, right? I'd go, please, I am on your side, right? Okay.
Go easy on me.
So I know you want to make it look authentic, right? But if you've got the other person banged up and they're on the ground, you know, you can just cut me a bit of slack, can't you? I said, because I do bruise and I do sue, right? Okay. And it always fell on deaf ears. Always. They would frigging crunch me into the pavement, the carpet, whatever it was. You know, it was like I was a proper bona fide bad guy. And I'd end up with aching wrists for days. But anyway, this was no exception, right? So bang, I've hit the deck, cuffed up, dragged off unceremoniously. And a couple, 2 or 3 days later, there's been simultaneous arrests, you know, at the money exchange and other people that were part of the conspiracy. And they're all in a dock of a court together. And they go, well, where's that cocky South London bloke with a ponytail? Where's he then? And of course, when they get remanded and they have a lot of time to think about things, they quite rightly figured out that I must have been an undercover cop. So they then worked on the theory that if they killed me, they would kill the evidence. And to an extent, they were kind of right to a certain degree, because there'd been a lot of evidence in the build up to the deal going down. So they hatched a plot to murder me, which was discovered by the FBI on a phone tap that they had in a bar in Boston, Massachusetts.
What?
Right? Yeah. The feds
Is this
picked it up.
cartel level stuff then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is. Yeah. So the FBI picked that plot up, and they tell the Met in London, who were part of the investigation, who don't actually tell me, by the way, but that's another story. And in itself, all they were looking for was a bloke with a ponytail, so they weren't actually going to kind of find me. Then what happened, because this drugs operation had involved the Garda Síochána, the police in Ireland, right, Scotland Yard, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency in America, the FBI in America, and other law enforcement agencies around the world, there was a lot of, shall we say, competition for kudos going on amongst the organisations, right? Of which I never used to get involved because I'm too busy working undercover. But, why do these people do this? So the Deputy Commissioner of the Met was going into a meeting with the Customs. I think I missed the Customs off my previous list, what was then Customs and Excise. And he wanted a briefing note for this meeting. So one of the detectives on the investigating team drew up this 6-page report, of which I've still got a copy, detailing exactly what had gone on in the operation. And in this report, he should have referred to me by my undercover number as allocated by the unit at Scotland Yard. But for some unknown reason, he didn't, and he put my full name in there. Detective Constable Peter Bleksley, right, with the very unusual spelling of my name, Bleksley, right? Not only did he put it in there once, of course, because I feature heavily in this report, my name in bold is in there 4, 5, 6 times in this report, right? Mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, that document is printed off and taken out of a police building, right? Number 3, in a suitcase, which he puts in the back of an unmarked police car. Number 4, with said briefcase in back a car, in unmarked police car, when he goes home, what does he do? Like you do, he goes shopping. As you do. And we all know what happens next, don't we?
Loses it.
The car gets broken into and that report gets stolen. Now there's a proper scream up, right? A couple of days later, I'm driving home. Mobile phone rings. Don't go home. Oh, right. Anybody going to tell me why? No. Move into a hotel, use one of your false identities and be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Get your girlfriend to go to the flat. Don't you ever go anywhere near that flat and pack an overnight bag for you. Anybody going to tell me what this is about, please? No. Just be here tomorrow morning. Right. So we go to the hotel. I get stuck into the mini bar in that room that night because my head's thinking, what's going on here? What is all this about? I didn't get to the yard at 9 o'clock the following morning. Of course I didn't. I'm a detective. I got there at 8 because a mate of mine had said, I'll meet you. You need to know some stuff. And he pulled out of his pocket a copy of the report I've just been telling you about. He said, have you seen this? I said, no. He said, right, stick that copy in your pocket because you're going to need it. He said, and this copy, you read and hand back to me. I sat in, he locked me in this little side office, literally just me, a desk and a chair and this report. And I could not believe what I was reading. That I was clearly now, with this report being stolen, I was in very real danger. By the end of that day, the bosses at the yard had decided that I had to enter the witness protection program. So I had to abandon my flat, abandon my name, and basically abandon my life as I knew it and move into this hideout. My girlfriend was given the option to, come with me or not. She decided that she would. They didn't give her a different name because she lived with me in my flat and didn't have any mail coming to my flat. So when they looked at it all, there was actually no linkage between her and my flat. So even if they had identified me, they wouldn't have identified her.
What about your parents?
Yeah, well, my mum wasn't best pleased, but I've always tried to protect my mum from the work that I did. You know, there was an occasion when I got stabbed in the neck and I knew it was going to hit the media. So I rang my mum and said, look, if you see something about a cop being stabbed, it's me, but trust me, I'm fine. You know, another occasion I found a wanted fugitive and who pointed a shotgun right under my nose. And that started a siege, which lasted for a couple of days. And I rang my mum and said, Mum, you're going to hear about a siege on the TV, right? Yes, it was me, but I'm fine. You know, so I always try to protect my mum. And, you know, she knew that I wasn't a beat Bobby because of the ponytail and all that kind of stuff. But I protected her. So I protected her as best I could from what happened to me. I said, look, I've had to move out, you know, but I've got this place and it'll be fine. And I'll come and see you. And, you know, I just won't be ringing you very often and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, likewise with my son, who then was about 6 or 7. But in the end, it all just became completely unmanageable. Anyway, so I get parachuted into this hideout, having abandoned life as I knew it. And of course, every day I am filling my head with conspiracy theories as to how this has come to be. You know, how did that report get written, stolen, in a police car, blah, 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 blah. You know, constant fear of the assassin's bullet. And not only was I living in, well, this would be a typical day. I come down in the morning, there's my mail on the doormat, right? Which is a constant reminder of the name that I'm living in witness protection, right? So that's identity 1 for the day. Then I get in the car, having checked underneath it to make sure that nobody's put a device there to blow it to smithereens, right? Then I get in the car and drive to work. So for that hour or so, I can put on whatever radio station I want and I can be me. I can be Peter Bleksley, having a little shuffle in my seat as I'm driving to work. Best hour of the day, right? Bar none. I then get to work, because I still had to work, believe it or not, and the police still wanted their pound of flesh out of me. I walk up the stairs, go into the office, and the governor goes, Blex, got another undercover job coming today, mate. 1 for you. So by 11 o'clock in the morning, I've been 3 different people. Right? You know, and I'm living in witness protection program, and nobody actually thought that this is all going to go horribly wrong at some point. Needless to say, it did.
What happened?
I did all that nonsense for 2 years, and then I had a major catastrophic mental health breakdown.